All right. How you guys doing tonight? I hope everyone's having a great weekend so far. Thanks for jumping in here today. While we wait for some more folks to jump on here in the comment section, just tell me where you're from, where you guys are watching from here, and type your name in. If you're coming up here as Facebook user, I can't see who you are. I'd like to know who I'm talking about. So it's good to see you, Gretchen. Thanks for being here. Hey, Savante from Germany. Thanks for jumping in, buddy. Guys, while we are doing this, please, if you can, hit that share button. Let's get this out to your groups. Share it out to hey, there's my buddy Frank. It's a long time no see, buddy. Let's get this into your groups. Hey, Bobby. It's good to see you, buddy. War Dog. All right, so guys, if you can, please share this out to your groups. Let's get this out to the appropriate places. People want to have questions, and we want to give them answers. Stacy, thanks for jumping in. John, all right, from Cartersville, Georgia. Thanks for jumping in, guys. I'm going to pop up here just a little reminder. Please share out to your groups. We want to get this out there to as many folks as possible. We're going to answer a lot of questions tonight. We're going to set some rules. We're going to talk about all kinds of things and some updates, and we're going to jump right in, guys. So today we're going to talk about cavalry at the 160th Gettysburg. Our event is June 21st, 2023 through June 25, 2023. It is not the anniversary weekend. I keep getting a lot of questions about that. We are not the Lady Farm. We are the Patriots of the Civil War Association, otherwise known as PCWA. So we want to make sure that we're clear on that. And we are not doing anything to step on anybody's toes. So just there is a separation. We are not associated with the GVPA in any way. All right, guys, that being said, I'm also not the GAC. I keep running into that. This is not the GAC 2.0. This is PCWA round 1. Okay. All right, guys. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time. Our guest today is John Andy, who is a cav specialist. He's been in the hobby for a very long time. And we have a good friend of mine, Rick Gist, who is the artillery coordinator for the event. So, guys, I'm going to bring them in. We're going to introduce yourselves. If people don't know who you are, let's just let them know.
Hi.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. My name's John Softchin. Yes, my handle on Facebook is John Andy. Andrew is my middle name. Been reenacting for the folks that know me for close to 20 years, something like that. I remember one of my first events was the 140th GAC, Gettysburg. And, been doing cav, was dismounted, doing federal with the old 17th PA, and then just, went through and was riding with Confederate guys for a while, and, got myself into, immersion reenacting the past, I want to say 7-8 years, and been working with those folks doing on that end of the hobby. But I have a lot of friends on both sides, and I want to try to bring my gifts and talents, what I can, to this, and advise in a role in some type of capacity for this event, and try to make it the best for horses. I was a farrier for a long time. I had my own business. My wife and I right now, we own our own horse farm. So every day for me is horses. So when the talents that I'm bringing to the table, is very horse and horse safety oriented.
Outstanding. How about you, Rick?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Rick. Rick G. I have a background of doing this since 1991. So I had a few dry years when I was living in New York, but for the most part, I've been at it since 1991. Mostly artillery, but in the infantry as well. So again, if I have a lot of experience with reenacting up this way, and authentic drill and all other things that we're going to get into a little bit later on.
Okay, so John, really quick, we're getting feedback from your phone when Rick talks. You might have to turn your volume down just a little bit.
Okay.
Because the feedback's coming through your microphone. So All right. How you doing, Ken? Thanks for being here. So, guys, before we jump in here, everybody, if you have questions for either one of these guys pertaining to Cav and artillery only, that's what we're talking about. Go ahead and throw them in the comment section, and I'll put them up for these guys as we're going on here. Also, before I forget, I want to say a huge thank you to my network, BB3 TV, for allowing us to broadcast their network on their YouTube page and things like that. So thank you to BB3 and everybody over there. So let's start with artillery. One of the things, Rick, that keeps being brought up to me is, Dustin, why aren't you allowing, mountain howitzers and these smaller guns? Well, and I literally got a comment that says, you event coordinators are ruining the hobby. This was said to me. So what's your response to that, man?
Well, my response to that is that we want to be a semi-immersive event and a correct event. And there was no mountain howitzers present in the Gettysburg campaign. Again, as that they have been used other places, but definitely not in Gettysburg. I'm not objecting to have them here, but again, they won't take the field in a reenacting role. I got a comment from Shane Pinson. Are we going to have forced artillery? We have one organization that's interested. I don't know who that is, but I suspect it's probably Harry Ufalusi and the group from Trail Rock Ordnance. But yeah, again, it's the authenticity. It's the making sure that we're doing things the way the battles actually took place.
All right. Now, we're not saying that they cannot bring these guns and teach about the different pieces of artillery, because again, this event is really circled around being an educational event. That's what we want. We want to teach the Civil War, not just Gettysburg, although this is the focus, which is why we're not allowing smaller pieces of artillery to take the field during battles, because we're not going to mislead the public, and that's what happens. But I mean, if you're a living history type organization, you understand this. We want to teach the public. So bring those pieces of artillery if you want to, and you can discuss what those were, and you could discuss where they would have been used. But misleading the public isn't what we're here to do, right? So, I mean, that's what we want to try to avoid entirely.
That's correct. That is correct. Even where they were used, they were mostly used with cavalry, but even East Cavalry Field, all of that was supported by full-size artillery. So there was absolutely no mountain howitzers, even with the cavalry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not that we're trying to be jerk faces about this stuff. That's not the point. The point is look, okay. I'm a mainstream reenactor. So I say that all the time. I'm one of the guys who likes to come out with his comforts. I'm just going to tell you, but I'm respectful when I do that. I don't put everything, I don't put my coolers outside of the tent, or I don't bring 6 tents unless I have my kids coming with me or whatever. But even when we do that, it stays locked up. No one's going to see from anything inside of my tent, because I'm respectful enough to do that. But there are people that really do put in a strong effort to be authentic. So is it really fair to the people who are really struggling very hard, who spend a lot of money on their kits, who do a lot of research and do all this? Is it really fair to them that we relax standards enough so other people can be comfortable? This is being lost in translation, because these guys were not comfortable when they were here fighting. They were dying. They were suffering. These guys had dysentery. Their feet were ripped to pieces. They were marching for days. These were horrible conditions. So when you're thinking about all of your comforts, you're completely, you're thinking about self, and you're not thinking about the organization or the purpose as a whole.
Why are you doing this?
Exactly. So, I mean, if I'm offending people, if you're offended by that and you don't want to come to the event, I'm sorry to hear that. It sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. We'll miss you, but this might not be the place for you. I mean, I can be as open to things as you want me to be, and I really am. But that doesn't mean that I want you out there in your Texas Steer boots and blue jeans. I'm not. That's not okay. So, again, I don't want people to think that we're trying to be ignorant when we say no mountain howitzers or, I understand there's people who have feet problem. And that was brought up to me. Look, if you come to
What
me and
about
you have like
insoles?
this, yeah, I mean, you can use insoles and Bergens, right? I mean, you can if they fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm
I ain't gonna
not
see
saying
your insole.
that I do personally, but it's like, what are we doing here? It's that's with all the other things that are so important. What we're trying to do, I don't care about your stinking insoles. Do I care about if there's going to be a mountain howitzer at the Buford scenario? Yeah, that's
Yes.
kind of important. Do I care about yes, mortars? Yeah, shit like that. So when people are bringing up, like, you should already know, modern glasses. I know you brought that up in the last video. Like, come on, these are common sense things. Macaroni and cheese for your rations. Like, come on, nobody's saying that you have to eat hardtack the entire weekend. I mean, if you want to be period correct and you want to be eating like a soldier, you're going to eat period rations. But is this event going to enforce that? Probably not. One of the things, Rick, that I wanted to bring up with you is for that Buford scenario, the 3-inch ordnance. Do you think we'll be able to get 3-inch ordnance for that scenario?
I think so. I do believe so. I own a 3-inch, which may go on the market depending on when my Napoleon is finally finished. But yes, we can. And that's the other thing that I was going to bring up, is that when we do these scenarios, is that I want to bring an authenticity to this by naming a battery that was there, and having, depending on how many guns we have, is if we can have a full battery, is naming that battery X or Y, and again is keeping to as much as we can to the authenticity of the scenario. But yes, I think we probably will have enough 3-inch ordnance rifles, at least a couple for sure.
That's awesome.
Well, Rick, what's the ratio that normally shows up here to these events? Like, as like Napoleon's rifles, like what's the ratio?
There are a lot of 3-inch ordnance rifles. A lot of them are smooth bore instead of being rifle. Mine's a rifle sleeve. And there's only one Napoleon that I know of that can take the field right now, and that's an original piece that was original to Gettysburg. But again, as it's, whether we can get them there or not is a matter of conjecture. But that being said, it's really it depends. It depends it depends. And again, most of the time the Confederates are the ones that also want to bring mountain howitzers into this. And being the overall coordinator, I need to put my foot down, because again, even the Confederates did not have mountain howitzers. They didn't have it with their cavalry either. So this is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So real quick, let's talk a little bit about the standards. What are the standards that you're putting out for this event? Oh, and really quick, before you answer that, the other question that we got, are you going to build a Facebook page specifically for artillery? Do you want me to build that and just make you the moderator? How do you want me to do that?
If you could build it and make me the moderator, that's great.
All right. I'll take care of that before tomorrow morning, or by tomorrow morning.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So put out, what are the standards that you want your artillery, participants to follow?
One of the things about artillery is that to step up your game is to use the original drill manual, Huntberry French or Patton's, or the National Park Service, which is has got a couple of things off, but for safety, that is period correct drill, and that's the easiest thing to improve impression. What we have here is a plethora of folks with this NCWA drill garbage, which is fantasy drill. It's fantasy drill, by having guys their hands over their ears, the whole 9 yards, and none of it is correct. And one of the things that I will tell you is that I will encourage it. I can't exactly mandate it because, again, if you don't have time to practice it, the time to learn it is not when you're getting in the scenario. So I will reluctantly take it, but I will encourage folks. They've got 10 or 11 months is 10 or 11 months to learn it. So I'm happy to come to them and learning. I'm happy to come to them to teach them, and I'm happy to have a school of the Peace at Gettysburg, because they would allow us. Daniel Lady Farm, even though that we're going against it, would probably be okay with that. But there's plenty of other places to do it. But that's one of the minimum things. The other thing too is, is making it scenario based. Well, before I go to the scenario based, I want to make one thing perfectly clear, is that we're not going to have a lieutenant, a sergeant, and a corporal on numbers 1 through 5 in the drill, because again, those were privates. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were privates. Your gunner was a corporal or a sergeant, and then you had a corporal or sergeant on a limber. And again, that's being nice, because again, I have a rule in my own battery that everybody's a private. Everybody has got a slick sleeve
Preach it, Rick.
sack coat. So sack coat. So, but the thing is that I'm not going to allow that to happen on either side, because this is not.
Look, there's a pattern emerging here. Rank structure is very important at this. You know what I mean? There's not going to be 17 sergeants and 3 privates. It's just not going to happen.
Right. And that's the thing is that, to make this a quality event, is the least you can do is try to do period drill and take off the stripes and the shoulder straps, as the case may be.
Yeah. And look, people are listening to this right now going, oh my God, these guys are making it ridiculous. They're being ridiculous. But why is it ridiculous when we're only doing what these guys did? Is that not why we signed up to be reenactors? We are reenacting what happened. That's our only job. And I feel like it's our duty and our honor to do it properly as best as we possibly could. I don't think we're asking too much. Do you?
No, we're not.
No,
exactly.
I don't feel like we are. And those people, that Rick's going to go to and say, hey, you're not going to be a lieutenant if you're going to be in this position in this gun crew. You're going to be a private, or you're going to be a corporal, whatever it may be, and you get offended. I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt, and you don't feel like you're a snowflake. But I mean, I'm sorry. This is the way that it was, and we're going to try to do things across the board and implement how the book, whether it be patents, whether it be with cavalry poinsettias, and it's just how it's going to be implemented.
And that's not too much to ask.
No, it's not. It's not. A couple of safety things with the artillery is the 50-yard zone. So again, we'll have enough flags, little small flags that mark that are inconspicuous. At the 50-yard mark, so that we've got a 50-yard clearance. The other thing too is that when we look at the drill, the NCAWA drill, is they will take their rammer and their sponge and put it on the hubs, whereas with the proper period drill, it's either upright or it's horizontal. Either way, it's loaded and ready to fire. So it's pretty easy to understand that. And again, we will make exceptions. We'll make concessions for NCAA drill, but not after we've tried to convince them to learn the proper drill.
Okay. So one of the other questions, and this is the big one looming in artillerists' minds, bounties. What are we talking about for bounties?
Cedar Creek does $200. I personally go up there just for Cedar Creek because, again, it's a weekend where I get my head reset, which, you know, it's my therapy, being up in the mountains to the east, mountains to the west. So I generally don't get a bounty. I may get one this time. Daniel Lady Farm, it's $250 for 16 guns. So we'll be up for Antietam, Daniel Lady Farm, and I'll get $250 for that one. But on the other hand, I hate to say this, but is it a powder bounty or a fuel bounty for getting stuff from here to there? With the price of diesel as it is that I would take that $250 and put it toward my expenses, because it's not cheap with the diesel driving around nowadays.
Yeah. So that's where I figured we would be. So I'm not too far off, because in my mind, I was thinking the first 15 guns that register will get a $250 per side. First 15 guns per side that register will get a $250 bounty per gun. I thought that was fair. Oh, Frank, a bounty is basically, it's like, kind of like just a little bit of a thank you. It's just giving you some money to help cover like powder, because powder's expensive and things like that. So it's just us giving, some money to help offset some of their expenses, because it is so expensive to bring guns to a show. Did I answer that good enough, Rick? I mean, you're the artillery guy.
Yeah, you did. You did. And again, too, is if folks want to come for the event, and we're past that, or if we get guns that drop out, then some could move in for the bounty. But like the 155th Gettysburg, is that we had a lot of guns that just came to be there just to be at the event. So I'm thinking that both events, and again, Dustin, you have said it quite correctly, is that we think of this as a blue-gray association event versus the GAC event for the 150th. And I was at the blue-gray 150th, and it was a freaking awesome event.
Yes, it was.
It was a freaking awesome event.
So what made it awesome? What did they do that made that event awesome?
Cooperation and cooperation. I mean, give and take here and there.
Well, I can answer this question, because I mean, generally speaking, it was they were 6-gun batteries that were, that was pretty much the standard, right? 6-gun batteries.
It was standard for the Union, but there was times when they would be four per, and then a rare time it was 2. It's just because of attrition they lost their guns, but Confederates are generally 4. So we may have a lot more than just 15 guns here. Okay,
you think so?
I think so.
Okay, good. That's good.
Certainly hope so.
I have a dual question, Rick. So with the bounties being for artillery pieces, mounted artillery pieces, would they get a extra something in their bounty being a mounted piece, or would they strictly just get the $250 if they registered early?
I said to say strictly the $250, because again, I know the logistics of a mountain. In fact, I've worked with the guys at Cedar Creek one year with the mounted, so I know the logistics. And we were supposed to get mounted, but that didn't pan out. We're going to start the efforts, but I think the one bounty at $250 is where we need to go with that, because.
I mean, if it's possible for me to do something, again, I'm fluid with this kind of stuff. Keeping in mind that my mindset about this is we don't have a show if we don't have you guys doing what you do. And that is first and foremost in my mind: the safety of the event, the safety of the participants, the safety of the animals, and the safety of the spectators. That's first and foremost. But if we don't have you guys doing what you do, we don't have anything. So it is my intention to do the best that I can to take the best care of you guys. So if something comes up and if I'm able to, we get a certain amount of sponsorships, something happens like that, I very well may throw in a kicker, for mounted guns. And something I want to talk about too, really quick. I was speaking to somebody who's connected to First Section, and it was, and there's other living history groups that want to come out, say like the 114th, is it New York or was it Pennsylvania? I'm not sure. Zouaves, who want to come out in numbers, but they actually don't want to fight in a battle. They just want to come out and teach about Zouaves and infantry and do things like that. I am more than open to that because they can fill a time slot in our schedule. We could do the same thing with like if First Section, which if they were ever interested in doing it, they could come out and teach. If they didn't want to participate in a battle, they could bring out those amazing setups that they have and teach the public. They can have their own time frame and their own block of time, and we would give them, and we would incentivize them to do that. So that those things are on the table. So when you're talking to people and having these conversations, nobody is being forced to go into these battles or anything like that. But we are encouraging people who want to teach the Civil War and teach history to come out and do this. This is a perfect opportunity for you to do that. Don't hesitate to double the bounty for horse-drawn guns. Yeah, like I'm saying, I will do it absolutely if I can do it. We will.
Yeah, the money's got to be there.
Yeah, that's the fact. I mean, look, and even Lee even said it. Lee is on my staff. He is a reenactor liaison. He's supposed to be posting all this stuff out to groups. Lee, so he mentioned it, and it's right. We've got to be able to have fun. So we are a first-time promoter for an event this size. I've done events by myself without a staff in the past. I have experience in this, but that doesn't make money just magically show up. You know what I mean? So now we have people who have pledged money. And I'm actually going to be getting a $20,000 check like on Monday or something to that effect. So it's possible. And if we get them, we're going to do the best that we can to take care of it. And we're going to have bounty for Cav too, but we'll get into that here in a minute. All right. My name is Rose and I'm here for the first time. Well, thanks for joining us, Rose. Appreciate that. All right. Have a company-based infantry drill, kind of like what the LR did with the 1st Minnesota. Could do that. Do you have a fundraiser for the site? No, we haven't done any kind of fundraisers or anything like that, but we're not closed off to it. Once the website is up and running, there is going to be a link on there where people that want to donate to the PCWA may do that. It is a tax-deductible donation because we are a 501c3 charitable organization. All right. Rick, do you have anything else that you want to add when it comes to artillery?
I don't think so. Again, what I said is pretty basic. I mean, it's benign. Mm-hmm. It's really benign. It's really, really benign. So again, I don't have much else to say. Okay.
Now, how can people get a hold of you for artillery purposes?
By Facebook, just message me, Rick Gist, and I've got a big dumb picture of myself in my Navy uniform there. So, Rick Gist, they can message me this way, and then happy to give out my phone number too, so that I can get texts.
Okay. All right, guys, that's how you do it, right? Rick, thank you so much for being here. If you want to stick around, by all means, stick around. If you got to take off, you could do that. But anybody that has any more questions or needs anything, you know how to get a hold of Rick. And we're going to go ahead and move on here to Cav. All right, John, where are we at with Cav? Let's talk a little bit about some standards and what the expectation is for Cav.
Okay. And Rick, I'm glad you're sticking on because there's some things that I'd like to include you on. So thanks for sticking on if you can.
No worries, it's all good.
So my role as Cav coordinator, I was requested, I was asked, people went to Dustin when Dustin put this thing on and went to him and said, hey, you need to get this John Softchin guy. You need to get this John Andy guy. And we made connections, and I'm advising my best capacity. This means I am not in charge, quote unquote, of the cavalry. I'm advising, I'm coordinating, I'm making the connections. We're doing things like setting up veterinary, and we have a team of people. You know who you are, and you are appreciated for all the help that we're working together at getting all this stuff, because as all you Cav people know, there's a lot of logistics that goes into having, you know, that body of horses on a property. So that's all I'm doing is making the connection, putting the right people in there, getting the standards in line. One of the things that we were, Dustin, you and I were talking about before was, you know, the standards. You were asking about standards. If the standards that we're putting for this event offend you, then you probably shouldn't be at this event. If you're saying, well, I can't do this and I can't do that, if it's that difficult for you, there's probably another event at another time that you need to go to, because if you're not willing to fill that gap that, you know, we're setting, if you can't meet that bar, we can't. It's like that line from Super Troopers: you can't pull over any farther, you can't lower the bar any farther. You're that low.
It's really not been set that high.
No, and it's just basic stuff. Having the right amount of NCOs and COs in a platoon. Why should you have, for 16 guys in the cavalry, why should you have, you know, 4 captains, 6 lieutenants, you know, so on and so forth? Because that's what's going to happen, you know, at typical mainstream events, at Cedar Creeks and things like that. You know, you have this plethora of people, and this may be, and I don't want to be, you know, my magic 8-ball or whatever, but this might be the turning point for the mainstream, where people start to say, you know what, I will go in with rations. You know, my battalion, my, you know, group is a mainstream group. You know, whatever company you get put in, whatever battalion you get put in, my mainstream group did rations. Well, most of the time, I get mac and cheese, and I have a cooler full of Gatorade, and you know, I do all this stuff. But you know what? I tried to tighten it up at this event, and you know what? I had a good time, and I enjoyed it. Eureka! Holy shit! We just, you know, we just turned people into immersion reenactors. It's not, you know, you're not going to go to hell for eating hardtack. I don't know why people are so afraid of this shit. I don't,
because it's not very filling and nutritious, but it wasn't for them guys either.
And you might break a tooth.
And you might break a tooth.
Soak it in your coffee, if that's what you call it. But the fact of the matter is, though, it's not that these standards are ridiculously high. We're doing this for a very specific reason, and it's literally to educate the public as appropriately as possible, but to create an immersive experience. Can you do that in a mainstream event? Absolutely. But what does it take? It takes everybody working together, and it also takes you putting aside your ego. That's why people will get so butthurt about taking off their stripes. Well, I've been reenacting for 20 years. It took me forever to get sergeant stripes. Those stripes aren't real. They're not. I'm not trying to sound like a jackass. They're not real. I'm not a real second lieutenant in the United States Cavalry. Okay. I can go down to be a private. I could do whatever to make it work. You know what I mean? To make the scenario work. So don't get so offended. It's not that you may very well be the most capable person in that, and that's great. Then you should be the one wearing the stripes, not 23 other people. Okay. And if you guys want to switch it up, if you got other people that are capable, all right, for that battle, you wore the stripes. Next time he can wear them. As long as the ratios are the same, you guys can work it out inside your company.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we do, because again, we have 4 NCOs, and basically for the most part on the Saturday and Sunday battles and the demonstrations is we will mix and match. just so the ratios are actually correct. And nobody seems to have a problem bothered with that.
Yeah.
I hope we can get the 11th Ohio Cav out. Hey, it's possible.
So I'm gonna talk about that right now. I don't want to. I did make a lot of notes, so yes, I'm being professional. I don't want to do any spoilers, but it's pretty much confirmed that the 11th OVC will be coming to this event, and that is one of the big attractors for me. Steve Dacus, I'm a huge fanboy. If anybody watches the 11th OVC YouTube videos, he is like the apex of research when it comes to cav for this hobby. Whether it be Confederate or federal, it's mainly federal research, but he is the pinnacle. Steve Dacus is. I actually have his tattooed, on my shoulder blades. I heart Steve Dacus. But yeah, not to sound too much like a fanboy, but just did a ride with him 2 weeks ago out in out by the Tetons on the Continental Divide Trail. It was a phenomenal time. Was your standard on paint spotted horses? Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in a second. I can't see your name, it's just Facebook user, but we will address that. But with the thing with Steve, we're going to, him being there is going to be a huge asset. Again, I don't want to. Hey, Steve, Turbo America. I gotta say it. Turbo. For the guys who are on the Wyoming ride, they know what I'm talking about. Those guys, and there's a lot of other people that are coming to the table. Bill Gay from Ohio, with his mounted band. They're going to be doing their impression, and that's going to be a specialty impression that's going to hopefully be approved by the Federal Cavalry Commander. And then they're going to fight. They're going to take off their buglers' uniforms, and they're going to fight in the ranks with us. And that's one thing I'm going to touch base on is specialty impressions for cavalry and for any mounted people. Every mounted person is going to have a job, whether you're a staff officer or whether you're a courier. So the people that are attached to, let's say, Rick with the artillery, those couriers are going to be used because if there's a safety issue, we need to be able to communicate. If communication's down and their guns keep firing, that's a huge issue. So we need to be able to shut things down and having people, you're not going to be riding a horse if you're not going to have a job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the specialty impressions, like people that want to go out there and be Custer. You can be Custer. It has to be approved by the powers that be. More than likely. Shoot.
Uh-oh.
We
lost him.
I had an incoming phone call. Those impressions, again, are going to be, and logistics and camps, we're going to talk about that for horses. I do see you, Facebook user. Don't know who you are.
Yeah, put your name up there for us if it's showing up like that, guys, please.
But yeah, specialty impressions. Yeah, not going to be a huge fan of those. We're going to be looking for a generic Confederate and a generic federal impression. So more than likely it's going to be Virginia Cav, and more than likely it's just going to be MSJs and fatigue blouses, and we're gonna find what group and what groups kind of look the same. The weapons, again, with 11th OVC, with the research that Steve Dacus has brought to the table, you're not going to see a lot of different uniform weapons, like variation. Sharps, carbines for the Federals, and then there's going to be a little bit of a variety for the Confederates. But you're not going to see Spencers out there. Spencer carbines, that's going to be pushed aside. Same thing with the mountain howitzers. If they weren't there, why are we having them there? Why are we allowing the standard to be down here? Well, that means more meat in the seat. I don't care. I don't care if it's more meat in the seat, if it's more people out at this thing. It's not what was there. So why are you? Yes, Terry's Texans were an actual group in the Civil War. Were they at Gettysburg? No. And we're not portraying them. Even if they were at Gettysburg, we're not going to, it's not going to work out to do these specialty impressions. We need, and that's what I have here on my notes, we need team players. We need people that are going to be supportive of what you guys are and what this body of people are trying to accomplish. If you want to be a cowboy and do your own thing and not be a team player, then this might not be the event for you.
Yeah, I listen. I'm telling you guys, as the event coordinator, I'm behind these gentlemen on that point. Yes, this is an event that I want everybody to participate in. I do. Okay. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to make special arrangements just to suit one person because they have a special need that they want met. I mean, there's too many people who put too much into this, mainstream and campaigners alike, because this hobby is expensive, period. You guys all put your hearts and souls into this. Okay. Some people do it differently, and that's okay. This is an event that I want everybody to participate in, but that does not mean that we're going to lower standards. What that means is to participate, you just raise yours a little bit. Not much. We're not asking you to part the Red Sea here. We're asking you to wear a Corps badge. We're asking you to, if you can, you got 10 months, pick up a Hardy hat for the Iron Brigade thing, whatever. Make small adjustments to your portrayals to just make it look good and tighten up your camp. That's it.
Yeah, if you think blue jeans is the standard and Wolverine work boots, and you're offended by that, yeah, this isn't for you, bub.
Yeah, that's true. That's it.
Yeah, and like pulling out a water bottle. There's been issues in the past with fellas, with people that want to document the event, and they're whipping out their phone, or they pull out an what are the cameras? GoPros. Yeah, that stuff. This isn't that event. Will there be mounted, dismounted? Okay, so we're gonna go a couple questions back and do the paint horse thing. Appaloosas, painted horses. Now, if it's a solid colored paint horse, and for the horse people that are speaking English and can understand me, a solid colored animal, yes. If it's a paint colored animal, no. That means more than one color. Now, if it's a bald-faced horse, I don't care. If it's got 4 white socks and a bald face, I don't care. If it's got a bunch of spots on it and looks like a Dalmatian, no. That's not, no. Why? I keep asking myself, why are these people, pushing this paint thing? And again, this is a standard that I, John Softchin, am not coming up with by myself. This is literally the entire board with Chris, with you, Dustin, with everybody else that's saying no paints, no Appaloosas.
They didn't use them.
This is the entire board saying they want this standard. So again, if you're one of those people that has a paint horse, dude, if you brought a zebra, I would be impressed.
I would shit my pants.
I would be impressed.
I would charge admission to just let people touch it.
I just want to see it. Dude, if somebody shows up with a like some type of exotic, bring in like a rhino. That would be badass.
Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just turn this into a circus. Why not?
I mean, shit. I mean,
they're already saying this is Gettysburg. This is GAC 2.0. You may as well put the circus tents up.
Yeah, there's gonna be zoo-off. So you got the clowns right there. Zinger. Again, with the zoo-offs, there's not going to be mounted zoo-offs. There's not going to be, if it's a zoo-off officer, if they have enough guys to fill a, battalion of guys, and yeah, that's one thing. But if you want to look like a joke and stand out. Again, this is my mountain howitzer pulled by zebras. Yes, please, Jesus. That would be amazing.
That's going to be the exception to the rule.
Do not bullshit. You can't put that stuff on the internet and follow through. You have to follow through with these things.
That's the only exception. You want a mountain howitzer, it's got to be pulled by zebras. Done.
Yes. That's the only way. The thing about GAL troops, again, with the board, not one person's decision, GAL troops, yeah, they can ride. You're going to be held to a standard. A lot of folks who know the people I'm talking about, I'm not going to mention any names, but there is a couple females that have my complete respect. You know who you are. You're probably not watching this because you probably don't have internet. But there's folks out there that, and they're older people. She goes out there and she puts on a full goatee and everything, and it looks really good. And you cannot tell that she's a woman. She wears loose-fitting clothes, and when she comes back in camp, she doesn't take it off. And that's the thing about these camps. They're going to stay military. If you think that you're going to come back, please bring coyotes. That would be so cool. If you're going to come back to the camp, we're going to keep this as military as possible in Cav camp, because I've seen it happen where people, it's held lackadaisical, and then we have issues on the picket line where horses get tied up. There's going to be picket duty. There's going to be fire watch. There's going to be more than one person on fire watch, just like the manual dictates. And we're going to make sure that the horses throughout the night are being taken care of because of how the camps are going to be situated. Your tent isn't going to be right on top of your horse. Again, if this is a deal breaker for you, the body apologizes, but we cannot curtail everything to fit your, I'll say it, snowflake needs. Again, I've been doing plenty of reenactments where they've asked a lot. The 150th Manassas, that event, the hot as hell one, they asked a lot out of us. We still went and did it. I mean, there's a lot of folks I know in the hobby that, still talk about that event. Not that I hope to God this event is nothing like that. That was took some years off the end of my life.
Here we go.
Trailer camp. We'll touch that next. But there was one on dismounts. Dismounts are going to be used, but you're going to be used properly. So there is going to be instruction because the scenarios are going to need dismounts to go out there, and I'm going to be honest with you, to go out and take hits because the mounted guys can't. Well, mounted, yes, because they are dismounts. But again, you're going to be being held to the same standard as the rest of the cavalry. You're going to be on picket duty. You're going to be on fire watch. You're going to be a part of the cav. If you want to be cav, act it. Don't say, oh, well, I want to look cool with my yellow MSJ and walk around with 10 pistols, with my sack of pistols. No one cares. No one cares that you're walking around as cav. It's like, if you want to do it, you have to do the same struggle as us guys with horses. And that's why we need you to be there. Awesome. I would not expect anything less. Want you guys to be camping with us and participate in the cav scenarios. But like I've seen this a lot when there's cav scenarios and the dismounts are shoulder to shoulder in skirmish order. And we're gonna be drilling. They're the commanders, and this is up to their, again, I'm just facilitating. I'm not in charge of that stuff. But things that are going to be set in place is drill. Because we've got to make sure everybody's safe out there. We're looking at potentially right now 40, 50 horses per side. I'd love to see more if we can get that, but the hobby took a real bad hit in 1920, with COVID, and a lot of people sold all their shit off. So yeah, there's not a lot of cab out there anymore, but that's not a reason for this event to lower its standards to, oh, we're we need, paint horses in this group and this group. And like, I'm sorry, I would rather have 50 solid people with horses that were team players, that didn't charge artillery pieces and jeopardize people, that didn't charge our infantry and run over guys on the ground. Safety is paramount. I would rather stick
to the scenario.
Yeah, stick to the scenario. I would rather have those 50 guys show up than 400 guys that were a safety hazard. 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Shane mentioned it earlier, we are looking for quality, over quantity. Again, I'm not trying to be dismissive of anybody. Guys, I love this hobby. And most of us that are doing it love it too. Okay. But we all kind of have this thing that we're doing as a fellowship. And I think we've gotten away from some of that. We've let egos kind of take over, and, it's about me and I, and, hey, when I come out camping, I want to have the comforts of a 4-star Hilton, and it doesn't make any sense to do that, and that's not when I say I want to take good care of you guys. I want to make sure you have adequate water, adequate amount of quality firewood, not this wet bark shit that you've gotten at GAC in the past. I want to make sure that you have clean, portable, bathrooms to go into, not having to squat over a mountain of feces to use the bathroom. Those are the types of things that I'm going to do to take care of you. The rest is on you and your commanders and your command staff and the people who make these scenarios. Do it as good as you possibly can, as authentically as you possibly can. That doesn't mean, oh, if your uniform isn't exactly right, we're going to kick you out. No, that's not what we're going to say. But if you're out there and you got your cell phone out and somebody sees it and you get asked politely to put it away, we're going to do that. We're going to ask you politely to put it away. And if you keep doing it, we're going to ask you to leave. That's not on us. We told you our standards. It really shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it does, though. It happens because people say, "Who are these people? What who are they? What the F are they going to do?" Try me. I'll show you.
Yeah, and
I'm not trying to be a jerk.
And that's one of the points that I put in my notes is we're asking people to be respectful. Yeah, you might not agree with everything that Dustin and the people that are putting this on stand for and everything. We're just asking people to be respectful and be respectful of our personal lives. You may not agree with stuff, but just let's keep this civil. Let's keep this polite and professional. If you can't, then this is probably not the event for you. And again, exit stage left. Just going through, I know there is a thing about the trailer camping that is under discussion, and we're trying to figure that out for the folks that have medical conditions. It's just logistically, we have to figure out how to keep that organized, because if there's going to be, if somebody has, again, if you, what's a CPAP machine, the thing that helps you breathe in?
Yeah, CPAP, BiPAP. Yep.
Yeah. If you have one of those and you come out to the event and it's 110 degrees out, first, I would suggest not coming to the event.
Or actually just get a hotel room.
Or just get a hotel room. But if you have medical needs like that, there's some other precautions you might have to take. But yeah, when it comes to trailer parking, again, I'm not a huge fan of this. I don't fully support it, but if this is what a large group of people need medically, and they're going to have horses there, the event is going to try to facilitate that the best possible, but it has to be organized. It can't be willy-nilly, and you have a horse trailer up on this end, a horse trailer. It all has to be together to make sure that both 150ths had horse trailer. I'm sure they did. Again, this is not the GAC, and this is not the BGA. This is, a different organization. So we're going to do what we can facilitate. If we can't facilitate that, we're going to make an announcement. But if we can, we'll make an announcement. But it has to be organized. It can't be willy-nilly. This isn't the GAC. So that will, when that comes, when we organize all that, we'll make that announcement. I think I went over. Oh yeah. So we're going to see about getting a vet on standby or a vet on site for the amount of horses. If it's not a huge amount of horses, and if we can't have a vet on staff, we'll have a vet at least on standby on retainer. I take it very seriously. One of the comments that I was saying to Dustin earlier was, if a horse gets injured or a person gets injured and it gets injured more, that person or that horse gets injured more than what it needs to be because we didn't provide the correct medical care and we didn't have that infrastructure, then we failed. That stuff needs to be put in place. I know I was talking to, I will mention his name, Willie Gale. And Willie, I hope you're on here. I hope you're watching this. Had a great conversation with him. And he was saying about having medical supplies and stuff. Yes, I totally agree. I take that very, very serious to have the correct stuff, because from somebody who's been dealing with horses for a long time, you want to make sure that you have Banamine. You want to make sure that you have Bute. You want to make sure that, if you have to tube a horse because in the summer heat, yeah, they do colic. You want to be able to save your horse. My horse died of colic a couple years ago. It sucks. So, we want to make sure that the right infrastructure is there to protect your investment. These animals are more than just animals. They're pets, they're family to a lot of people. And I take that very seriously. And also the human safety factor. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. We all have to work on Monday. So if there is saber fighting, we need to be smart and not, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take that guy's scalp. Stay home. Stay home. If you're going to go out there and you think that you're going to capture a flag and be a cowboy, stay home. Do me a favor and just stay home, because we don't need that. We need team players, people that are safe. If you're shooting people in the face with, it's just a blank load, I don't want to hear it. Go home. Stay home. Because I've been shot with, and I've seen people get shot before with blank loads. It's not cool. And it's not funny. It's not a joke. Take it very seriously. And I anybody who does take it as a joke, yeah, again, this is not the event for you. And same thing with artillery safety. If you're one of these people that, we're going to go capture this gun. Rick, what's the worst that you've seen when it came to an injury with artillery? In reenacting.
Actually, I've seen 3, and they're all up here. Down south, we never had a single one. But prematures, shooting the rammer down range. That's, I've seen that happen twice. Plus, I watched a guy lose his hand. He ended up with a lobster claw, but this was from mountain down in Plymouth, North Carolina. So it can happen, but again, it's safety. Safety with the artillery is knowing how to roll your rounds so that they don't break, and making sure that it's the minor things, and that those things add up.
Yeah. Something like this. I'm going to chime in on this right here, if you don't mind, John. This guy says a few weeks ago, an infantry unit ran up and to one of our guns and actually jumped up on the limber. That is a freaking no-go. Unless you work that out with the people that own the gun. If you work something, that's different, but that's private property. It's people that spend a lot of money on that, and it's a serious safety issue. So that kind of stuff cannot be happening. But if there's a scenario where guns, let's just say we were doing Hawks Ridge at Gettysburg, and Smith's 4th New York Independent Battery got turned by the 1st Texas as they were coming up the triangular field, and they took those guns. Those guns were turned and attempted to be used against us or the Union. I mean, that's a scenario where you would have to safely work that out. And it's a dance. This is a dance. It's a coordinated dance. It's not something you're just going to do willy-nilly because, oh, there's a gun, so we're going to go take it.
Yeah.
No, this has got to be scripted and very carefully orchestrated. If something like that were to be the case, you should under no circumstances ever run up and try to take a gun if it is not part of the scenario, because somebody might not see you coming and rip that lanyard and you're standing right in front of the barrel on the business end. You're done.
Yeah. And
Well, a couple
you know, how is it as a horse owner, as a horse guy, how is it right for you to ride your horse up and then your horse get blown up and then you want to boo-hoo, oh, those guys shot. You're the one who rode in front of the gun. You made that decision. You know,
Well,
that's real world term that alerts medical situation, battle medic. Yeah.
yellow flag.
Yeah, so we are going to enact the yellow flag rule here at this event, and that's going to be put out during. There's going to be formations. There's going to be inspections and things like that. So when we put this all out there, everyone's going to know what that flag looks like, and everyone's going to know what to do when that flag comes out. Which means you see that yellow flag, everything stops. You stop. You get your butt down on the ground, take your caps off, you relax, try to find some shade if you can. And make way for medical staff to get to wherever they need to get to. First and foremost, safety is paramount in this.
Yeah.
So real quick, let me answer this. I'm not sure who you are, Facebook user, but we did discuss medical impressions on the last podcast. You might want to go back and just watch that video. But just briefly, really quick, because we're just about out of time here. We are going to use medical impressions differently than it's done in the past. Maybe some other places have done this, but there is going to be one of these. It's going to be like a medical triage thing directly after the battle. We are going to allow, because it would have happened in Gettysburg. Civilians came out to the battlefield. People came out to the battlefield to start helping take care of wounded, and there was triage and things like that. So we are going to try to recreate that as best as possible and have medical scenarios continue. And it's not just going to be blowing the taps and everybody magically rises from the dead. There's just going to be ambulances on the field. So what does that mean? That means it requires some people, if they can, and they're not completely exhausted and the heat's not killing them, to stay out on the field for a little while, and if that can be done safely, we'll do it. If the heat index is like 110 degrees, we're going to nix that. We'll do medical scenarios, but we're under no circumstances are we going to put anybody in any kind of danger.
Yeah.
So, but we will do another podcast. I'm actually going to bring medical staff on here, like we're doing with John and Rick, and I've done with Mike and Chris. I do want medical staff. And so anybody that is interested in talking medical stuff on this podcast, reach out to me and we'll set that up. All right. So let's get back to what we're talking about.
So how much time do we have left, do you think?
Well, technically we have as long as you guys want to go.
Okay.
Because there's nobody coming on BB3 TV.
I'll breeze through, I said logistics, we're going to make sure that if there is a Corey accident, take battery. Yeah. With logistics, if there is a medical emergency and we needed to get a horse trailer in there, yes, we are thinking about those things. For the folks that are concerned about, are the horses going to have shade, or the horse is going to have hay, or the horse is going to have water? Yes. All of those things, we're all being adults about this. Everything is being thought of. Again, this goes back to my first point. Please be respectful. Yes, this is the first time that Dustin and his organization is putting this on, but there are a lot of people that are.
Got another phone call, didn't you, John? He'll be back in 1 second.
Yeah, sorry. I'm on the podcast, and people are wanting to talk to me.
Of course,
I'm on the podcast. It's funny. It's really funny. People are. So whoever that was, don't call me back.
My phone has not stopped blowing up since we announced it.
Logistics, we're thinking of all these things. Scenarios, yes, we're thinking of all these things. We're thinking of all the things that worked in the past and all the things that have failed in the past. Is this going to be the dance of the saber fairies? No, but that is entirely up to the commanders and how people orchestrate. It's up to you. If you want to do the carousel, and we do have a saber charge, and do the whole carousel thing, that is entirely up to you. But how the scenarios are going to be played out, probably not going to happen. We're not going to be asking guys to go out there with a sack of pistols and do a fight. We're going to orchestrate things where you're using one pistol and use your pistol pouch, your cartridge pouch that your pistol rounds are supposed to be in. This is all common stuff things. This isn't beyond the norm. So, anyways, authenticity, we're going to be asking the basic things out of people when it comes to their uniform. I'm more concerned about the greater things than just uniforms. If you look like, Frito Bandito and you're wearing a giant sombrero with a bunch of yellow on you, stay home. Research your impression. We're going to be posting things of original images. For the guys that are 250 pounds, you're not going to look like a 150 pound trooper. But don't wear modern glasses. Don't wear cowboy boots. There's things, and wear an RD2. Don't wear a cadet jacket. Look like cavalry. Give an effort. I don't care who made your jacket. I don't care if every buttonhole is hand sewn, but don't look like dog crap. And the people know who I'm talking. Give an effort, because these people across the board, infantry, artillery, a lot of the civilians, they're giving an effort. You should too. There's going to be a standard. We're not going to make it fully immersive like, some groups that are out there that the standard is super high, and those units should be, and those organizations should be appreciated for what they accomplish, but it's not going to be that high. These things are going to be obtainable for mainstreamers, and
Absolutely.
It's not going to be asking too much out of folks.
It seems like it. If people watching this are thinking these guys they're making it insane. We're not. Guys, listen carefully to what's being said. We care about this impression. We care about doing it different, guys.
And a lot of
people complain. People complain about other organizations' events being lackluster, crappy, but then they're like, at the same time, well, you're setting these standards as we're going to go support the other one, the one they just got done bitching about like immensely. So think about put yourself in the right headspace and understand that all we're trying to do is make a mainstream event not look so mainstream, and everybody can do that. Mainstreamers, I am a mainstream reenactor. I've been trying to say this the whole time. And I can step things up to make my impression a little bit better. I have no problem doing that. I mean, I'm still going to bring all my shit and throw it in my tent, and I don't care what anybody thinks. That you guys could do the same thing, but that doesn't mean the public has to see it. And
to your point, Dustin, what you're saying there, and we've heard this a lot this past week. It was people are saying, well, if you don't do this for my group, if you don't do this for this group of people that with the paint horses and the Appaloosas and all this, you're not going to have, people show up. Yes, we are. And that's my point that I want to make here. We've already talked to organizations like the 11th OVC with Steve Dacus. We have a great group out of Ohio, and we'll let them make their announcement, because they still have, a lot of these groups have to vote in January on where they're going to go. So, but more than likely, I've been getting a lot of feedback from Ohio. We're going to have a bunch of folks come from there. We're going to have a crowd of folks from Maryland, Virginia. There's a large organization on the Confederate side, I'll say that hasn't pledged, but they said they're going to come support. And so, if anyone is happy to help, yes, Steve Dacus. I can't say enough. He just posted on there about if anybody needs help. The guy's a salt of the earth. Him and the 11th OVC guys. When he says that, he means it. And
guys, we are going to be
the videos.
Yeah, we're going to be working closely with Steve. Steve's has a large role here in the organization. So
So
he's a go-to guy.
We're going to have the people show up to this event. So the old misnomer, well, I just won't show up if I don't get this. Okay, that's fine. We're still going to get the numbers. Yeah, and I say I would rather see 50 horses per side or 40 horses per side for guys that are going to follow scenario, that aren't going to be that are going to be safe and that look good. I don't care. I'd rather, and the show will be better for it because numbers aren't always everything. Yeah, you have 400 guys out there, but 10 people end up in the hospital. Do you really want that on your conscience? Because you're allowing the standards to be a bunch of yahoos out there. It's not conducive. So one of my last points is couriers. The use of couriers. I mentioned a little bit before, but the use of couriers is going to be paramount. We're going to be asking different groups, different people to volunteer, but we're going to need real couriers. We're going to need real troopers to be carrying guidons, because the guidons are going to, hey, I need to get a hold of General Anders. Well, you got to know, you got to have somebody who's capable of going hell bent for leather across the field and then be able to relay that message. If it's a message about nothing tactical, but if it's a safety issue, we need capable people in the courier system. These platoons that we're going to put together, and where they get attached, whether it be to headquarters, we're going to figure that out, if those groups are going to stay with the cavalry, or they're going to wake up in the morning and then they'll be attached to headquarters. But just like they did, there is plenty of groups during the Civil War that they had companies detached to Meade's headquarters and Hancock's headquarters, and you had different cavalry groups that were attached to the infantry. So that's pretty much of the notes that I had. But again, we just ask for people's patience and understanding for a lot of these things. There's a lot of logistics that goes into getting the horse end up, and I'm just here to help advise. I'm really running nothing. I'm not in charge of either side. I'm just advising Dustin and the board on horse stuff. Yes, we're going to inspect the hay. I have that on one of my notes. Somebody was asking me about that earlier. We're going to make sure that, it's right. And yes, it looks good now, but, hey, the farmer might had a leak in his head, in his roof and his barn. And we want to make sure that we don't have any issues right before the event. And we want to make sure that everybody goes home safe on Monday, and all the horses go home safe.
Absolutely. And as with anything else, there's always a plan B. So really quick, I want you to talk a little bit about Cav doing other demonstrations that are involved in battles. Like, we would like to set up a time block. What kind of demonstrations could you guys do for the public?
So again, that is going to be dictated by the commanders, and we're going to push that as the board for those commanders to do proper drill. And this isn't just riding around with your saber out. You're going to dismount, fight on foot, operate like Cav. Again, if you're one of these people that has a physical issue, and there's a lot of folks that are friends of mine that are older and then they're in their twilight years of reenacting, we don't want to shy you guys away. Who are the commanders? That is yet to be determined. We have people in place. We cannot give a announcement yet. The folks that know who they are and the nominations, but it needs to be ratified by Mike and by Chris. I know there's people all over the place that hasn't been ratified, but there's nominations out there for who's going to be in charge of the different sides, and those people know who they are. They're all made aware.
Yeah, and just keep in mind too, guys. Scott Fink is the military commander, or the military coordinator. So a lot of these questions can be directed to Scott Fink. Ultimately, he is the guy that I appointed to make the decisions at the end of the day. He's working very closely and in concert with Chris and Mike. So all of those decisions are being made as a conglomerate between the three of them. So just keep that in the back of your minds.
One last thing that I wanted to go over when it came to Cook standard drill, point sets. Point sets, not point sets, but point sets, is going to be, yes, likely point sets. Thank you, Steve. So rank, I wanted to go over that, how we're going to break that down real quick. So in registration, there's going to be a packet just for cavalry. You're going to put on there that, you're agreed. There's going to be a disclaimer list on there that you agree that you are going to hold by these standards that we're asking you to do. So if you say, yes, my horse is a solid colored animal, and you show up with an Appaloosa, you're then voiding that agreement. So, you're going to be turned away, or, however the board wants to handle that. But yeah, you're going to sign up for that. You're going to we're asking people to sign up as groups, because what we have a problem with the cavalry is you have a lot of folks out there that will just show up as a captain, or they'll show up as a lieutenant, as an individual, or they'll show up with their kid, and it's, oh, I'm a captain and my kid's my sergeant. Well, we're trying to run a military organization here. That's what we're trying to set up. So we can't have 40, let's say hypothetically 50 horses per side, and we have 10 captains. That dog ain't going to hunt. We have to break it down. So we're going to push people to register with their group. So let's say 2nd Maryland, they register, and they have 12 people all register. The officers and the NCOs are going to have an asterisk next to their name, and they will be then nominated by the commander on what rank and position. That way you have good representation for those groups, because how is it fair to a group that shows up with 15 horses, right? How is it fair to them that they show up with 15 horses and you have a guy that shows up with one and he's a captain? That's not fair to that organization that brings that many people. And who's saying that those people, that one guy who shows up as a captain is qualified for that position? And we want to make sure that the qualified people, it doesn't matter if we have the right amount of people as NCOs. Like Rick was saying before, you got to know what you're doing, because you can get somebody hurt if you don't.
Absolutely.
So that's how we want to handle registration as of right now. Also, if we do logistically, if we do the trailer camping, that will also, you have to register for that. You just can't show up and say, oh, well, I'm going to camp out here. We want to make sure we have enough space for your horse trailer. And if you have a corral or anything with that we're accommodating to that. There needs to be logistics with it. So other than that, Dustin, that's all I had for
okay, great.
My notes.
I appreciate both of you gentlemen and your willingness to be a part of this organization and help us out. Again, without your expertise and your knowledge, we would be dead in the water. So sincerely, from my organization to you guys, I thank you immensely. It has definitely been an honor to work with you thus far, and hopefully we can continue this on into the future. The idea is that we're setting a new standard here. And guys, listen, we're not going to get this perfect the first time out of the gate. Don't come into this expecting perfection. We want a higher standard. We're not looking for perfection. So there's give and take. So what I'm asking for participants and everybody else is just be willing to be fluid. All right. Be willing to be putty a little bit and kind of mold yourself to the scenarios that we're trying to do. Heed and take part. As Buford said in Gettysburg, if it's going to fail, help it fail. Get in there and at least do your part and help it. Because really we can provide you guys the setting, we can provide you guys the stage, but ultimately at the end of the day, the quality of this event is going to depend on the effort that you as reenactors put into it. And we're going to do the best we can to accommodate you guys and make you as comfortable as possible. But again, we're looking for authenticity. So, guys, anybody has any more questions for me or anybody else, or John or Rick, you all know how to get a hold of them. Just be respectful of their times. I don't mind people texting me whenever they feel like texting me. If I'm in bed, I turn my phone off and you're not going to disturb me. So if you text me at midnight, I don't care. It's not going to bother me. But some of these guys don't want to be text, all night long. Be respectful. Yeah. Think, don't blow John up at midnight.
I have a toddler. I value as much sleep as I can get, man.
Yeah, exactly. So just be, when we say be respectful in that department. Guys, it's really truly an honor to be able to work with you guys. I'm sincerely looking forward to it. Anybody else, guys, thank you all so much. If you're watching this video as a replay, please go ahead and hit that share button, get this out to your other reenacting groups or whoever. So sharing is caring. All right, guys, get that out there. Again, I want to say a huge thank you to BB3 TV for allowing us to host this across all their platforms, Paranormal Brew and all the other ones. I appreciate you guys very much. Also, for you people who love Gettysburg, this one of the biggest things that you can do is support Gettysburg businesses. Go online, check some Gettysburg businesses out. There are sutlers, there's Regimental Quartermaster, there's Maryland Sutler, things that you guys can do to support Gettysburg businesses. There's great restaurants and things like that. So, and support Gettysburg groups. Go to Gettysburg Past and Present. There's a lot of great stuff on that group page. Head over to Gettysburg Visions and other organizations that do these types of things that are Gettysburg related. It's a huge support to the organizations, and we appreciate you guys doing that so much. Yes, Dirty Billy's, great maker of awesome hats. Go check out Dirty Billy's. So support these guys, and also support anybody who's doing this. Guys, we're losing sutlers at a crazy rate because costs are going up ridiculously. Inflation's killing a lot of people. So and there are people who are all on the authentic side making stuff. Support them. There are regimental quartermasters. Support them. These guys, we want them to be around for future events. So by all means, go show your support and help them guys out. So with that, guys, I'm going to say goodnight. John, Rick, if you guys stick around for just 2 more seconds after in the back room here, we'll chat for a second. Anybody else? Thank you guys for being here. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.